Hello everyone, welcome back to another Doctor Who figure review. In today's Doctor Who figure review, I'll be taking a look at the Third Doctor Dalek from the Death To The Daleks twin pack, part of the Forbidden Planet exclusive line, released back in October 2009. So this set, I guess, is becoming a bit of an antique now. So I thought I'd do a few celebratory sort of throwback figure reviews to coincide with the upcoming B&M sets. So this is going to be the first of those throwback reviews, and then of course I'll take a look at the Third Doctor and Anti-Light Wave Reflectant Dalek, and I might throw in the 8th Doctor from Night of the Doctor in there as well, because I don't think I reviewed that figure when it came out, so I thought it would be a nice opportunity to do some throwback reviews to celebrate the upcoming B&M wave of figures. So without further ado, if you enjoyed Doctor Who figures, then please do consider hitting that subscribe button. If you enjoyed this video, then please do leave a like, as there's plenty of Doctor Who figure related content on the channel, and upcoming in the near future with the reviews of the upcoming B&M sets alongside throwback figure reviews as well. So without further ado, let's take a look at the packaging, then the articulation and detail of both of these figures. Taking a look at the packaging for the Third Doctor and Dalek, so we've got the lovely sort of Russell T Davies sort of packaging now with the Doctor Who logo. Their posable action figures 5+, the great sort of bubble displaying the figures there so you can check for quality control, and of course we have the lovely name tag there, the Third Doctor of the Year, the story's broadcast, what the set is based off, and then we have the Third Doctor dates there and 2 images from the actual story. It's rather interesting that people complain about the Jodie Whittaker era logo being on every bit of Doctor Who merchandise, but we kind of forget that this was on pretty much every bit of Doctor Who merchandise, with the exception of sort of the classic DVDs and Big Finish. This was very much the logo and style guide for the early 2000s, really, well, sort of late 2000s when Russell sort of left. And if we move to the back, we've got a bio on the Third Doctor, which I thought was always a lovely touch as a kid, because you could learn about the character. And of course, when this came out, I hadn't seen Death To The Daleks, so this was my sort of first experience of Death To The Daleks as a story. Then we've got the other Doctor dates there and the Underground toys. But yeah, very nice packaging. This is probably my favourite sort of style packaging for the Doctor Who figures, because it's just so vibrant, it stands out on the shelf, and yeah, it's just incredibly nostalgic. So there we go, that is the packaging for this set. Here we have the man himself, Jon Pertwee, the Third Doctor. My Doctor, yes. This was the Third Doctor figure what kick-started my Third Doctor figure collection in a way. This was the first variant I got, and yeah, as a little 10-year-old, this was all my Christmases and birthdays come at once to have my Doctor in 5-inch action figure form. So without further ado, let's take a look at the articulation for this figure, then let's take a look at the detail for this figure. Articulation wise for the Third Doctor, the head can move side to side, the arms can do a full 360-degree turn, 360 at the bicep, bend at the elbow, 360 at the wrists. The waist does sort of turn, but it is very stiff, and I don't really want to force it because, you know, it's an old figure. The legs can move forwards, ever so slightly, but are hindered by the jacket, and same when you try to make him do the splits. Of course, we have thigh swivel, and of course, bend at the knee. Take a look at the detail for this Third Doctor figure. So we have the lovely paint apps for the Third Doctor. So we've got this very nice, shocking white hair with a slight grey wash to give it that sort of texture and a sense of depth. It very much sort of mimics sort of Terrance Dicks's sort of description in the Target because of the shocking white hair, which is done very nice. You can see the nice sort of curl and detail. You can see the sort of grey wash over it. It really helps sort of accentuate that detailing there. You can see the sort of individual strands of hair there. It's done very nice, and I think the paint apps on this face, this is when sort of they were going for more of that realistic look for the character. If you look at some of the B&M figures we get now, they have their own sort of style, their own sort of cartoonish look to it, whereas this has more of a sort of realistic look to how the character was on screen. But I really do like the sort of artistic license the B&M sets have gone for with certain paint apps. But the paint apps for this are very nice. I do like it. It's really got a nice sort of paint sculpt on John there. You can see the sort of sculpt there of the sort of the lines on the face, and you can see the sort of cheekbone definition there and the lines there. But I do think that the paint apps may be a little bit too heavy in places, because John's got quite a craggy face and quite a sharp face full of wrinkles and sort of crevices, whereas this sort of makes him look a little bit younger, but you can definitely tell that it's John, and I do think that it's a good sculpt, especially from that angle. You're like, yeah, that's Jon Pertwee. And you know, I have one of the prototypes from one of the B&M sets, and you can really see the sort of sculpt and detail, what character options have gone for with sort of the detail, and it just shows how sort of the paint apps can sort of affect the sculpt, but you can see how much detail are on these figures underneath all the paint apps. But yeah, it's very good, and I think that the paint apps are very good on the face itself. It does look very much like how he was in this story. But yeah, if we look at the actual costume itself, now the costume, much like most Third Doctor figures, is inaccurate because it's using the Carnival of Monster jacket sculpt. It should only have the one lapel going over, it shouldn't have this little extra collar up here. But yeah, this is, you know, obviously this is the sculpt what they used for Carnival of Monsters, what we saw in the 11th Doctor set a year after. But of course we've swapped the bow tie piece for the cravat for Carnival of Monsters. But with this, the costume, another thing with this costume is the jacket is this sort of petrol blue, midnight blue look to it, but sadly the figure doesn't really capture that. I think it would have been nice if the figure had a slight sort of blue wash over it, just to sort of help accentuate, to go, oh yeah, it's got a sort of a hint of blue within it. But I think the red piping really does make this figure pop and stand out. And of course this was part of a trilogy of Third Doctor figures, because you know, about a month later we had the Third Doctor and Giant Maggot, which is essentially this costume really, just with the shoes. So it made sense for the character to do that. But going back to the actual costume, like I said, the red piping really does help accentuate this figure on the shelf. You can see that the piping is done very well, nice sharp paint apps there, very nice and crisp. And of course we have the Third Doctor's lovely maroon bow tie, which again really does help stand out on this figure, making it pop. And of course we have the sort of greyish blue shirt there, and of course we can see the buttons and the frills poking out there, and of course the blue shirt frill cuffs are poking out there, and you can see the sort of segmentation of the frills there as well, which is great. And of course the red trim does continue all the way down to the bottom of the figure, which again really does help give this figure sort of shape and definition. And of course we have the lovely seams on the jacket there of sort of how the jacket has been tailored, which is great. Of course we have the pockets sculpted there, and of course we have the buttons on the jacket as well, which really does make it feel very lifelike. But yeah, very nice detail for the torso. Going down we have these sort of charcoal grey trousers with a nice creasing. You can see where the trousers are sort of overlapping the boots where they've been tucked in, and of course we have these glossy black boots which really do make this figure pop. And of course one thing what the Third Doctor cannot have without is of course the ring, which is a nice little touch there. Yeah, great figure despite the inaccuracies. I really like it, maybe because it's my first Third Doctor figure, I just have a bit of a soft spot for it. But yeah, moving to the Sonic, it's very much what we've grown to know and expect, but this is the first time we properly got the Third Doctor in hand and with the Sonic. But yeah, even though the Sonic doesn't appear in Death To The Daleks, and he didn't even have this version of the Sonic in Death To The Daleks, it changed in, I think, Frontier in Space is when he sort of gets the Tom Baker style Sonic screwdriver. But I think that it's a nice inclusion to have this Sonic, because at the time, if you could only afford one Third Doctor set, at least you get the sort of colourful traditional Third Doctor Sonic screwdriver. But the paint apps are very nicely done for the scale of it. You know, you've got the nice sort of yellow and the black swirl, and a nice sort of red colour on the emitter. It is done very nice. Of course there should be some paint apps on the bottom, but hey, we can forgive it. And of course that does slot in the Third Doctor's hand like so. And yeah, very good figure. I've got a bit of nostalgia for it because it's my first Third Doctor. He's gone on many adventures in time and space, and he's looking good for his age considering he's about 13-14 years old. But yeah, really do love this Third Doctor figure, and he's definitely does stand out on the shelf with that red piping. Like I say, really does give that figure definition and shape on the shelf. On to our next figure, the Dalek. I guess the Dalek Commander, because he's got the orange dome lights. Yeah, I really love the Dalek livery in Death To The Daleks. I love the sort of silver and black. It's like a nice sort of merge of the two eras in a way. It's sort of the 60s in the silver, and of course the black to sort of represent the 70s Daleks, which is just very cool. But yeah, I really do love this. Of course we'll do the articulation, but I guess I'm going to do a bit of story time, because you can see this Dalek's eye stalk's a little bit battered, as my dog back in the day chewed the eye stalk, and yeah, it did a bit of damage. And this is where I ended up getting a second set last year, because that dog sadly passed away, and I thought as a nice little tribute I'm going to get this set again and get a pristine version and say that's a nice little tribute to the dog, really. But yeah, so that's why the Dalek eye stalk's a little bit messed up, because the dog had a bit of a chew on the Dalek, and I think the dog won, to be honest, not the root. But yeah, the Daleks do look a bit battered in Death To The Daleks, and they do get beat in quite interesting ways, whether that be the Exxons just chanting at them, or self-destruct because they have lost their prisoners. I don't know, but yeah, it's very in keeping with Death To The Daleks. But yeah, let's take a look at the articulation, and then we'll go on to the detail for this figure. Articulation wise for the Dalek, I think we should all know this by now. 360 at the dome, and of course the eye stalk goes up and of course down. 360 at the plunger, and of course 360 on the new machine gun arm, and of course we have the classic wheel so the Dalek can patrol around. So yeah, that is the articulation for the Dalek. Detail wise for the Dalek, it's again very traditional Dalek detail as you've come to expect, but with one obvious change. That is the gun, if you didn't know. But yeah, we've got this lovely sort of silver paint, and of course we have the orange dome lights. Now these aren't the ridged version. I think the ridged dome lights came in about 2011, and of course the new B&M sets do have the ridged dome lights, so it does make the original stand out a little bit more, having this sort of original sort of Dalek dome lights. But yeah, the orange really does pop on the silver there, and we've got the nice detailing of the eye with sort of the darker grey sections. And yes, like I said, it's a bit of a battered Dalek. We've got the Dalek eye rings there, which is nice sort of blue colour, and of course a nice sort of gloss black finish to the Dalek eye there. The neck ring section, we've got the great sort of mesh detail there, which looks fantastic as always. The midsection is painted black all the way around. I know that's a bit of a factory error on certain Death To The Dalek sets. It just depends which ones arrive in your area, really. And again, we've got the great sort of mesh section there with the panel detailing, with the rivets and the mesh in between. Again, very much like the neck bin detailing. And of course, this Dalek has the oval in the middle. The ball joints aren't painted on this. I think that was maybe a lesson they learnt from the Dalek Collector Set 1, because the joints are very stiff on that. And of course, we have the traditional Dalek plunger detail with it slightly extended to give that sort of false perspective that it does extend. But the main attraction for this Dalek is of course the sort of machine gun, which is done very nice, and of course featured in some Star Wars stuff as well, which is very cool. Features in Mandalorian as well, this sort of Dalek gun. But yeah, very nice. Got the nice sort of detailing there, with sort of the little holes there, and of course the little sort of top of the gun there, which is done great, and nice sort of section detail. Again, very nice. And then we move down to the skirt section. Not much to say apart from these lovely sort of glossy black hemispheres and the two base fender there, which really does make this figure look very striking. And I've always thought that these Daleks are sort of like scientific Daleks, that they're on their own little expedition. But yeah, very nice Dalek. One of my favourite Daleks in the Dalek figure collection. Despite him looking a bit battered, it's a nice little tribute to my dog now. But yeah, very nice Dalek. I'm a big fan of the Death To The Daleks, and I can't wait to add the Dalek set to, well, add 2 more Death To The Daleks to the collection, so I can have a little army of them, really. But yeah, very nice figure, and yeah, really just stand out on the shelf with that sort of machine gun. Yeah, very cool. So there we have it. That is my review of the Third Doctor Dalek from Death To The Daleks, the Forbidden Planet exclusive from 2009. Overall, I really do like this set. I think this set has a lot of sentimentality to me, because obviously it was my first Third Doctor figure to get in the collection, and I'm just a huge soft spot for this Dalek. It's one of my favourite character options I've ever done. Despite the inaccuracies, there's just something about this set what just really appeals to me. Maybe because that's my Third Doctor bias coming in, I don't know. But I just really do like this set. But yeah, this set, I would say if you want to track it down, I think it's worth it. It's a nice little collectible piece to have, and it's a bit of Doctor Who figure history. I think that this is the cheapest of the free Forbidden Planet Third Doctor packs they did. I think it's this one. I mean, this is probably a bit cheaper now. We've got the B&M set coming out, because this Dalek itself was like 40 quid on its own, so it's probably a little bit cheaper now getting this set, because of the B&M set's probably made this sort of decline. I think then it's the Sea Devil set, then the Third Doctor and Maggot is probably the most spenny one. That's the one where you've probably got to spend a lot of money to get that in your figure collection if you don't have it. But yeah, overall, I really do like this set. If you've enjoyed this video, then please do like and subscribe if you're new around here. There's plenty more Doctor Who figure related content coming up in the near future with the upcoming B&M sets, and of course throwback figure reviews like this. So without further ado, let's close off this video, and all I have to say now is goodbye